Hermione was the last to leave her office that evening. Her usual neat desk piled high with scrolls and books that she'd been working on for the new magical law reform. The corridors were silent, the soft glow of candlelight flickering along the marble walls as she made her way toward the exit. Just as she turned a corner, she nearly bumped into someone coming from the opposite direction. Malfoy, she said, surprise evident in her voice as she took a step back. Draco Malfoy was standing in front of her, his sharp features softened slightly by the warm light. He looked as surprised as she was, his gray eyes widening for a fraction of a second before he regained his usual calm expression. "Granger," he replied, nodding slightly. "Late night?" Hermione nodded, her surprise shifting into curiosity. She hadn't seen Draco much since they'd both started working at the ministry. Though he had changed in many ways, they rarely spoke outside of official matters, exchanging only polite words in passing. "Yes, it was a busy day," she replied, adjusting the stack of scrolls in her arms. "And you?" Draco shrugged. "Same, I suppose. They've had me running around all day." He paused, glancing down at her stack of scrolls. "Need help with those?" Hermione hesitated, caught off guard. She hadn't expected him to offer, but there was something sincere in his tone. "I suppose if you don't mind." Draco took half the stack, and they walked in comfortable silence down the corridor toward the main atrium. There was a quiet between them, a strange sense of understanding that had grown over the years, though neither of them ever spoke of it. "Thank you," she said softly when they reached the atrium. "I wasn't expecting anyone else to be here this late." Draco gave her a small, almost reluctant smile. "I guess we're both a little too dedicated to our work." She laughed, surprised at the ease she felt. "I suppose that's true." They walked together toward the fireplace where the flu network awaited. As they reached it, Draco hesitated, glancing at her with an expression that was uncharacteristically uncertain. "Granger," he started, his voice softer now, I wanted to say I've noticed how hard you work here. You're doing incredible things." Hermione blinked, caught off guard. "Thank you, Malfoy," she replied, her voice quieter. "I didn't know you." Notice. Draco met her gaze, his eyes softer than she'd ever seen. "I notice." A warm flush crept into her cheeks, and for a moment she felt a strange, thrilling pull between them, something unspoken yet undeniable. Draco seemed to feel it too, his gaze lingering on her in a way that felt both unfamiliar and captivating. Without thinking, Hermione stepped closer, her heart beating faster. She could feel the warmth radiating from him, and the air between them felt charged with something she hadn't expected to find, least of all with Draco Malfoy. "Draco," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper, testing the feel of his first name on her lips. He inhaled sharply, his eyes flickering down to her mouth before returning to her gaze. Slowly, he reached up, gently brushing a loose curl behind her ear, his fingers lingering for a brief, electric moment. "Hermione," he replied, his voice low, his gaze searching hers. For a heartbeat, they were the only two people in the world. Then, as if pulled together by some unseen force, Draco leaned in, his lips just a breath away from hers. Hermione's pulse quickened as her eyes fluttered shut, and she felt a warm, tentative brush of his lips against hers. The kiss was soft, a quiet confession neither of them had planned. When they finally pulled back, Hermione looked up at him, her cheeks flushed, her heart racing. "Good night, Draco," she whispered, a small smile playing at her lips. He smirked, though there was warmth in his eyes that she never seen before. "Good night, Hermione." As she turned and stepped into the green flames, she could feel his gaze lingering on her, a new spark lighting the air between them.